Hi friends, welcome or welcome back. My name is Kim. This is Kim Reads and Reviews. That's Twyla, and this video is going to be a book haul. I have acquired about 20 books within the last 4 or 5 months, and I use the word acquired very specifically because with the exception of one book within this entire stack or pile here that I paid full price for. I went to a bookstore, bought it. I thrifted all of these books or found them in little free libraries. We are just going to hop right in. This girl, yep, quite the personality. She was preventing me from starting this video as well. She was the star of the show at the beginning. No. I would bet that she's probably gonna end up sitting behind me at some point here.
What are we gonna do? What is this?
Okay, I think she's found her spot. Anyways, let's focus. So because of this haul, I have pretty well stacked my bookshelf, my physical, like the books that I own that I have not read. Mind you, I do have books on my shelf that I have not read that I have acquired over the last, I don't even know, 2 years. It's not a ton. I don't have a huge book collection, but I think right now I have a very well-rounded collection. I mean, well-rounded is in like a good amount, like the physical number of books that I have that I can pick from. And I'm quite dedicated next year to making sure that I read from my shelves as well. So we will just jump right in. Some of these books I briefly read over the summary and am aware of kind of like generally what they're about, or some of these books, the cover just intrigued me and, I just wanted to give it a try. So more specifically, those are like little free library pulls when I'm like, oh, I don't really know anything about this book, but the cover's intriguing, or, I'm aware of this author, but don't know what this one's about. So I'm interested in reading it, whatever the case may be. So we'll just jump right in. So let's start with Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This was a little free library find. The one that I found it in had the other books, I believe, within it too. I think it had book 2, but this is the first one within the Mistborn trilogy. I have been interested in reading Brandon Sanderson. I hear people say to start with the Mistborn series, and that it's a good introduction to his writing, and just, rather than jumping right into The Way of Kings, this is a good place to start. The mists rule the night, the Lord Ruler owns the world. Once a hero rose to save the world, he failed. Ever since, the world has been a wasteland of ash and mist controlled by the immortal emperor known as the Lord Ruler. But hope survives. A new uprising is forming, one built around the ultimate caper, the cunning of a brilliant criminal mastermind, and the determination of an unlikely heroine, a street urchin who must learn to master the power of a Mistborn. Sounds interesting. I'm excited to get to know his writing and jump into a book by him. Now, I think we'll stay on the fantasy train and talk about The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. This is also a little library find, a little free library find. The thing that appealed to me was the condition that this book is in. Oftentimes, the little free libraries, the conditions of the books are, they're well loved. And sometimes, you can tell that they've been read by so many people, which is really cool in and of itself. But I think it's rare to find ones that are in just like really great condition. Like, I don't think the spine's even really, the spine's not even really broken on this one. So, and plus it has a very beautiful cover that appealed to me as well. It just kind of looks like a very cozy fantasy. When I read through the back, I was like, you know what? I could be in the mood for something like this. I could. Opaline, Martha, and Henry all feel that they've been like side characters in their own lives, and then a vanishing bookshop casts a spell. These three unsuspecting strangers will discover that their own stories are every bit as extraordinary as the ones that they found in the pages of their beloved books. It sounds like something that's going to just be kind of cozy and, not too huge in the world within it or anything like that, but maybe have a nice heartwarming message in the end. So I don't know. We'll see. Let's move on to a nonfiction. This is one that I found at Goodwill. So I thrifted this. I spent $2. for this book, and I hear great things about this novel. I hear it's a bit of a heavy hitter, so I do have to make sure that I'm kind of in the right mental space to read this. Essentially, this is Jeanette Wells' memoir of resilience and redemption. I guess she grew up in a pretty dysfunctional family. Her father struggled with addiction, and her mother just didn't, what was the words that she used, didn't want the responsibility of raising a family. So it's essentially just how she grew up in that situation and how her and her siblings navigated that, and how it, I'm assuming it built her into the person that she is today. Another little free library find. This is Bel Canto by Ann Patchett. Ann Patchett has a variety of novels out. One of her books, Tom Lake, I think. It's like got the green cover with the white flowers on it. That came out recently, and is being well reviewed at this point. I think it was a Reese's Book Club pick. Anyways, we're not talking about that book. But just to give you context as far as the author and another book that she's come out with. Party that was being held in South America with the country's vice president, and a whole pack of gunmen ambush this party and take people hostage. But what begins as a panicked, life-threatening scenario slowly evolves into something quite different. A moment of great beauty as terrorists and hostages forge unexpected bonds, and people from different continents become compatriots, intimate friends, and lovers. Sounds interesting, no? So, and again, for a little free library find, I was like, you know what? She's been on my list of authors to read and get myself acquainted with, so not a bad place to start. I found this at Goodwill, so I spent $2 to get it, and I love when I don't really have to spend a lot of money on a book, and I enjoy the book. So this was a win. This was a success. Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. We follow Adam and Amelia as they go to this isolated cabin that's on the front of the cover to try and have like a weekend getaway, but also to try to save their marriage. They both have are at the point where they've fallen out of love with each other, or they are out of love with each other. You hear from both of their perspectives. You also get excerpts that are letters that Adam's wife wrote to him through each year of their marriage, and basically what the highlights were of that year and things that, that they struggled with during that time. And it just adds to the complete picture of the complexity of their marriage and what's going on. This had everything that I generally really like in my thrillers. It was atmospheric, it was isolated. There's a limited cast of characters within here. It's like I couldn't figure out what was going on until the very end when everything was revealed. And I was like, oh, so clever, so well done. I really enjoyed this quite a bit. I don't know what the general perception is on this one specifically by Alice Feeney, but obviously she's a thriller author with some notoriety. Her thrillers do tend to be a little bit slower paced, but I was pleased with this nonetheless, so I'm happy about that. I will be keeping this on my shelf. All right, so this is The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth. I don't think I've read anything from Sally Hepworth. However, I do hear great things about her and her thrillers. We follow Fern and Rose. Fern is planning on becoming pregnant for Rose, her sister, because her sister is unable to get pregnant. And now Fern just needs to find a father find someone to help her get pregnant. Fern's mission will shake the foundations of the life she has carefully built for herself and stir up dark secrets from the past in this quirky, rich, and shocking story of unexpected love. The Man Downstairs by Nicole Lundgren. Hopefully I am pronouncing that correctly. Apologies if I did not. This is also a little free library find. Essentially, this one follows Molly Winters. She is moving back to her childhood home to take care of her father. Grammar. And Molly's memories of growing up with her father are full of love and care, even though a violent trauma defined her childhood. When she was a young girl, she witnessed her mother's murder, and Molly's testimony, "There was a man downstairs," sent a teenager to prison. So it sounds like this is essentially her moving back home, and this whole the man downstairs situation is coming back. After Molly, a trained therapist, volunteers for a local helpline, the threats begin. At first, they seem random, but soon Molly realizes that she is a target, and even those closest to her seem suspicious, especially as unsuspected links between them emerge. More than one life was destroyed on that horrific long day, and now someone intends to hold Molly accountable. The cover intrigued me, honestly, with this one in the Little Free Library, and when a book is free, I'm like, you know what, I'll give it a go. Why not? And for another thriller, this is The Wrong Family by Tarryn Fisher, another Little Free Library find. I think we all know who Tarryn Fisher is. We've all kind of read books from her. I have not read anything from her. I don't hear great things about this one, though, but I figured I would give it a go. Juno was wrong about Winnie Crouch. Before moving in with the Crouch family, Juno thought Winnie and her husband Nigel the perfect marriage, the perfect son, the perfect life. Only now that she's living in their beautiful house, she sees the cracks and the crumbling facade are too deep to ignore. Still, she isn't one to judge. After her grim diagnosis, the retired therapist simply wants a place to live out the rest of her days in peace. But that peace is shattered the day Juno overhears a chilling conversation between Winnie and Nigel. She shouldn't get involved. She really shouldn't. But this could be her chance to make a few things right. Because if you thought Juno doesn't have a secret of her own, then you were wrong about her too. So we'll see how it goes. I'll develop my own opinion about this book, even though I know not a lot of people loved it. Or it might have been The Wives that people didn't like. Anyways, doesn't really matter. I'm going to read it. It was free. So what do we want to go over next? Another thriller or literary? Let's go over this literary. So this is called Outside the Lines by Amy Hadvani. And I picked this up because I was kind of getting Father of the Rain vibes from the synopsis. Father of the Rain was my favorite book in 2023, I believe, when I read it. Excellent writing. The story just hit me in like all the right places. It's like an in-depth look into like a father-daughter relationship. And this one is very similar to it. I read the synopsis and I was like, I'm going to read this. And I also found this in a Little Free Library. I have never heard of this author. I have never heard about this book, but it sounds like it's going to be an emotionally hitting one too. So we follow along with Eden, and her father really struggled with mental health, and basically it kind of drew a wedge between her and her father and like the rest of her family. And her father, within the synopsis, is now living on the streets and struggling with mental illness. Now in her 30s, Eden decides to go look for her father so she can forgive him at last and finally move forward. When her search uncovers other painful truths, not only the secrets her mother has kept from her, but also the agonizing question of whether David, after all these years, even wants to be found, Eden is forced to decide how far she'll go in the name of love. It sounds like there could be like some touchy stuff written in here that, depending on how it's written, might land okay, might not land okay. I don't really know. Anyways, I'm sure I'm not making any sense, but yeah, I typically enjoy literary fiction books that really take a deep dive into like parental relationships with their kids, especially ones that are strained or fraught or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to give it a go. So The Silent Wife by A.S.A. Harrison. I couldn't remember if I had read this or not. So this one, we follow a husband and wife, and it's a psychological thriller about their marriage. We get alternating points of view, and yeah, it just seems, my guess is that this is going to be a book about the marriage tensions just building and building and building and building to a point where something extreme happens. So we'll see how it goes. The less I know about my thrillers going into them, the better. And again, that's another one that I just haven't really heard anyone talk about or heard anything about. So, all right. Next is one that I have heard plenty about, and that is The Island by Adrian McKinty. I picked this one up partly for my partner as well. I mean, there's quite a few books within here that I picked up with him in mind, thinking he would enjoy it. But I have heard that this is has really great pacing, similar to like No Exit kind of situation, like high octane, very quickly paced, really good kind of like intense storytelling. So, and he really, really liked No Exit. So, and I also really enjoyed No Exit. So, hoping that this one will be the same. I guess it's essentially about a family who moves to an island, obviously the island, and things go awry, and then it's just kind of like a fight for survival. So, that's all I need to know going into this. That's all I want to know. And yeah, and then his other book, which is The Chain, I hear great things about too. So, next, I picked this one up from Value Village. So I think I spent $6 on it. One by One by Ruth Ware. I typically love Ruth Ware. So this is an author I'm very well acquainted with and will, you know what? No, I was about to say I'll read anything she puts out, but her last couple of releases, I have not been interested in reading at all. She's taking a different route, I think, with her books that is different from like the atmospheric thrillers that she normally writes. I'm basing this off of what I'm hearing other people say about her books. I haven't read the most recent ones she's come out with, but this one would be the last one of her kind of thriller, atmospheric thrillers that I have not read. I really, really loved Turn of the Key, The Woman in Cabin 10. Those were excellent, all very up my alley. I know that it's about a business trip, I believe, and everyone dies one by one, essentially. Let me know if you guys feel the same about Ruth Ware's recent releases, or if I'm just in crazy land and have the incorrect perception about them. Oh, you know what? I lied to you guys. I paid full price for two of these books. This is the last one by Will Dean. I purchased this because I read it and I figured that my fiance was going to really, really love this. I read this when we were traveling and I really liked the twist within this. I didn't love it. I wouldn't say that I absolutely loved it, but when I finished it, I figured it would be up his alley, so I bought it for him. Essentially, this is about a woman who goes on a cruise with her boyfriend, and she wakes up one day and literally everybody on the cruise is gone, but the ship is in like the middle of the ocean and she has no idea where everybody went to, and things just go awry. And, you know, I thought that this was a very unique and different thriller from what is out there. I very much appreciated the twist that happened within this. When you figure out what's going on, it's like, oh, that is interesting. That is a unique way to take this book in that direction. So yeah, enjoyed the concept of it. And I thought the concept itself was well done, because sometimes a book can have a cool concept, but the execution of it doesn't quite land right for me sometimes. So this is one where concept was great, execution of it was great. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. I would recommend it, and I like to have it on my shelves in case anyone is looking for a thriller that's kind of unique and just something to get them out of a reading slump. This would do it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books left. What shall we do next? Let's do the survivalist book. This is called The Hike by Lucy Clark. I read a book earlier this year called The Hike. I can't remember the author. Was it Susie Holiday? I think it was Susie Holiday, and enjoyed it. This is a kind of like subgenre of thrillers that I am enjoying and am interested in continuing to read. And that is kind of like survivalist thrillers. So I'm assuming that The Island is going to kind of fit within that category, but generally thrillers that are, the setting is outside and the cast of characters is just trying to, one, survive the elements, the outdoor elements, but then also potentially something more or equally dangerous underlying all of that. So within this one, I'll just read the synopsis on the back because it's short enough. As night falls, they still haven't returned. Leaving behind their everyday lives, 4 friends hike out to the beautiful Norwegian wild. Nothing between them and the mountain peak but forest, sea, and sharp blue sky. But there's a darker side to the wilderness. A woman went missing here 1 year ago. Now the friends are hiking into the heart of the mystery, and waiting on the trail is someone who'd do anything to keep their secrets buried and to stop the group walking away alive. Let's just get this one out of the way. So I found at Goodwill, so I spent $2 on this, Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, Brave Work, Tough Conversations, and Whole Hearts, Daring Greatly and Rising Strong at Work. This book is a roadmap for anyone who wants to lead mindfully, live bravely, and dare to lead. In the Dark, We Forget by Sandra S.G. Wong. This is another one where I have never heard of this author before. I have not heard of this book, I don't think. The cover is like vaguely familiar to me, but also not totally. Okay, so a woman wakes up with amnesia beside a mountain highway, confused and alone. She fights to regain her identity, only to learn that her parents have vanished not long after her mother bought a winning $47 million lottery ticket. As her memories painfully resurface and the police uncover details of her parents' mysterious disappearance, Cleo Lee finds herself under increasing suspicion. And this is one that I have read, and I picked it up for my fiance because I figured he would enjoy it, and that is Breathless by Amy McCulloch. This I found in a little free library. So again, a free book that I felt okay about, but know that other people might enjoy this. I think I gave this a 3.5 when I read it. Anyways, essentially this is about a woman who is a journalist, and she gets invited to go on a mountaineering expedition with Charles McVeigh, and he is like this famous mountaineer. He tells her that he is going to give her the one-on-one interview that she wants with him as long as she hikes Manaslu with him. And when she's on this hike, people start mysteriously dying, not necessarily due to the conditions of the harsh environment on the mountain. The thing that I really liked about this is the author has actually hiked the mountain she's talking about in this book, Manaslu, and it's something that she does. It's something she's passionate about. And I just thought when I found that out when I think I was like in the middle of this, it just added a whole other layer of enjoyment to this story. It was kind of like, okay, this author is speaking from actual real world experience. It just made it more enjoyable. And again, I do enjoy books that are thrillers that are set in like an outdoorsy setting, and it's just has a survivalist storyline within it. So enjoyed it overall. The twist itself within this was okay. I think if you read a lot of thrillers, you'll be able to figure out what's going on, but that doesn't mean that it was a bad book or anything. I enjoyed the process of reading this, and I thought that the way that Amy McCulloch wrote this kept my attention. The audiobook as well with this was really great. All right, guys, we got 3 more books. Let's talk about this big chunky one. So I decided to really dive into this dedication about going into the Brandon Sanderson world. And I went ahead and bought The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. You know, I really enjoy kind of going into like a fantasy world, and I figured that I'd give this a shot after I read Mistborn. And yeah, I don't know, something about a big chunky book just kind of makes me want to read it. I don't know. And I feel like I'll be really accomplished after I read this too. And, you know, I hear nothing but great things about this as well. Like, I don't think I've heard one negative thing about this. I don't even think I hear people say that this is too long, because the pacing within it is really good. I'm aiming to read this within 2025, which means that I have to read Mistborn basically as soon as I can, because I do think this is going to take me maybe a month or a month and a half to read this entire thing. So this is The Club by Reese Witherspoon, oh my goodness, sorry guys. Now, The Club by Ellery Lloyd. I don't know much about this. I have seen it floating around online. I haven't necessarily heard the best things about it, but again, figured I did develop my own opinion on it. Essentially, it's kind of like about a club. The home group is a glamorous collection of celebrity members, clubs dotted across the globe, where the rich and famous can party hard and then crash out in the 5-star suites. But behind the scenes, tensions are at a breaking point. The ambitious and expensive project has pushed the home group's CEO and his long-suffering team to their absolute limits. All of them have something to hide, and that's before the beautiful people with their own ugly secrets even set foot on the island. As tempers fray and behaviors worsen, as things get more sinister by the hour and the body count piles up, some of Island Home's members will begin to wish they'd never made the guest list. Because at this club, if your name is on the list, you're not getting out. I don't know. I think it sounds interesting. I figured I'd give it a go. $2. We'll see how it goes. Reese's Book Club picks tend to be very hit or miss for me, and depends on the mood that I'm in when I read them. All right, last one. And this I grabbed from a little free library, mostly because I just know the author name. I haven't read anything from them before, but I figured why not? It's a little free library kind of book. I may as well. I'm not spending any money on it. It's hardcover, and that is Rich People Problems by Kevin Kwan. What I do know about Kevin Kwan is that he wrote, was it Crazy Rich Asians? I think it was him. But anyways, he writes opulence and just royalty and famous rich people very well, is what I know. That's about it. I briefly read over the synopsis, and basically there's multiple characters involved. There's different things going on in all their lives, all with this like opulent kind of setting behind them. I figured this would just be a good introduction to his writing and the worlds that he builds. So we are all sleepy here. Hey, sweetie? Nope. Sweetest girl ever. Okay, so that is pretty well all the books. Like I said, I'm fairly dedicated to making sure that I read most of these next year. All right, so I think that that is about it. Next year, end of year 2025, we're going to do a check-in. Because if I do book haul videos, I want to make sure that I'm reading the books I'm hauling. So you will hold me accountable to reading these books next year. We got a good variety here, and I'm a mood reader, so there's really no excuse, right? I think that that would be fun. You hold me accountable to it, please. Thank you. So I think I'm going to close this video out here now. If you have watched to the end, thank you very much for watching. If you want to leave a comment below about what was the last book that you acquired, either from Little Free Library, you thrifted, or you bought it full price, doesn't really matter, and you absolutely loved, because mine was Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. So let me know what yours was. If you have not already, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I hope you are enjoying what you are reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.